When it comes to the United Nations, it's really not surprising when many countries are against Israel. It's been happening for decades. It's not particularly newsworthy. And so it wasn't surprising to me and to anybody who knows anything about the United Nations when the UN held a vote recently in their General Assembly about Donald Trump deciding to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, something I've called a terrible idea. And the General Assembly rejected it. They said, no, we don't accept Donald Trump and the U.S. recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel for a number of reasons, including the fact that it is a disputed territory. And internationally, it's not considered the capital of Israel. So what did Donald Trump do? He decided to threaten withholding, according to him, billions of dollars in American aid from the countries that voted to reject his recognition of Jerusalem. And this all started when Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, wrote to the 180 of the 193 countries that rejected Trump's recognition of Jerusalem that she will be, quote, taking names of who voted how. And then Donald Trump made the threat about withholding aid. This is more or less a total lack of knowledge of the history and political realities of this issue, of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict more broadly. It's even sort of reflective or indicative of a total lack of understanding of the United Nations as well. This vote is not at all surprising, but it's also not controversial. And that's why this is so boneheaded. Jerusalem is a disputed territory. It's by and large not recognized as the capital of Israel, and recognizing it as such would go against a number of UN Security Council resolutions on exactly this issue. The real exposition from this stunt is how little Donald Trump knows what's going on, right? I assume that most of our audience agrees with me on this issue. So I want to talk for a second to the people who think, oh, the recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel is a really good thing. And these threats by Trump are great because he's doing the right thing and he's not taking no for an answer. And Jerusalem should be the capital of Israel. And Trump is calling it what it is. Well, take for a second the pragmatic and practical approach. Trump said he would solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Well, actually, more hilariously, he said Jared Kushner would solve it, which is totally laughable. How is this going to help Donald Trump solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? It does the opposite. It exposes Trump as a clueless and biased arbiter in the conflict, and therefore it hurts American credibility in being a negotiator of a peace agreement with little credibility that we had left. The United States is fully exposed as a biased participant in whatever hypothetical negotiations might someday happen. This is a guy in Trump who's ideologically compromised on this. And these decisions are making it worse day after day after day. Now, as far as the threats to cut aid go, my guess is that these threats are, like a lot of what Donald Trump says, totally and utterly empty threats. But if they are not, and Donald Trump actually starts cutting aid from countries because of this vote, the monumental damage that it will do to our relationships with allies will be absolutely stunning. And I actually don't know what's worse here. Trump thinking he knows how to solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, or the side effects of the entire world realizing that they need to do everything they can to keep Trump away from this conflict altogether, as well as Jared Kushner and David Friedman.
Yeah, those are the repercussions. And I think this is just entirely a play to his base, right? I mean,
I
even the idea of
guess.
moving the embassy to Jerusalem, I think his supporters would be in support of that, but not be able to rationalize why exactly.
Well,
And the same thing happens when he threatens the UN and pulling foreign aid from other countries,
yeah.
even though it's like less than 1% of the federal budget.
Different people would be supportive of different elements of this for different reasons, right? The evangelical followers of Trump, as we saw from a recent speech from one of his cronies, I don't even remember who, they believe that maybe the recognition of Jerusalem as the capital might bring about the second coming of Jesus Christ, end times, rapture, apocalypse, whatever.
Everyone
right?
dies.
Everyone dies, but it's great because they end up in heaven. The Trump doesn't take BS from the UN crowd, which is a different crowd in general than the evangelical crowd. They might like the threats to cut aid based on the UN vote. It is, in a sense, red meat, but it's like stupid red meat, or it's red meat from a diseased animal that no one should be eating, maybe is a better analogy. And pardon the analogy to vegan Pat, but I think it's a fitting analogy here. This is not good for anybody, and it's an absolute disaster that we'll probably be dealing with in more detail in 2018. Today's program is made possible in part by Blue Sky Binary's Blockchain Academy. Blockchain, the technology on which Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies can be based. Many people not aware of both the power and the risks that are carried by blockchain technology. I've only started to get into this a little bit, buying a little bit of Bitcoin here and there, dollar cost averaging. But a lot of people, myself included, believe that blockchain technology is just too complicated to understand. But the truth is, it doesn't have to be that way. The Blue Sky Binary Blockchain Academy from leading financial education firm Blue Sky Binary explains how blockchain works. And it can work in addition to existing knowledge that you have about blockchain. It's for both beginners and active cryptocurrency users alike. With the course, students are taken through a series of topics which ultimately will deliver a very solid understanding of how blockchain works and help students realize the potential future uses of blockchain technology. We've talked about this in the pharmaceutical world. We've talked about this in the IT security world. Many, many possibilities for blockchain. And the course includes video on demand, online tests, access to a community of traders and blockchain enthusiasts. And at blueskybinary.com/David, you can register to get a free 3-day trial, which includes access to the first module of the course for you to evaluate the overall quality and decide if you want to stick with it. Get a free 3-day trial at blueskybinary.com/David.